I want you to take this home with you this morning, and it's tagged. You'll learn how to tag your spouse, and the T is time. Is time not our most valuable resource now? Is time not our most prized possession? It is. That screen we looked at a while ago that was covered with stuff, we all relate to that in different ways because our lives are just bombarded and swamped like that. Time is very, very valuable. And when you look at somebody and see what they spend their time on, then you know what's important to them, don't you? Because we're all pulled in different directions. So you can see what I spend my time on has to be important to me. Otherwise I wouldn't do it. That's a pretty good barometer to look at nowadays. That's what our spouses need, is that time. Now am I talking about time like Willie says, all right, Sandy, you got 5 minutes, go. 4 minutes, 50 seconds, you ain't talking. We understand it, and that's not the case. Time is also not a vacation to Destin, Brenda, although it can be, and I hope it's going to be good. That's not what I'm talking about. Time doesn't have to cost anything. The best times Brenda and I have ever shared have been times that didn't cost nothing. A walk maybe we would take together or something. Just a drive to town and back or something. Set a time. Set a time. Say, this is time for my spouse. It is so important. It is that important. We are going to set aside a time. And that's harder to do than you think. Brenda and I did that. Our time was Friday night. If we could just get us a couple of hours on Friday nights, that would be our time. Do you know how many times we've not been able to do that? And you think, that's no big deal. Yes, it is. And everybody can understand that with the schedules we have. It's hard to do. But Friday night is our time that we try to set aside for each other. And again, if it's just going out, spending some time together, talking. Which leads to the next thing. Your spouse needs time. Your spouse needs, attention. Right? Because you can give time without attention, can't you? Jan, has Danny ever watched the NASCAR race sitting right there in the same room with you? And he's saying we're spending time together, but his attention is on that old man from Batesville or whatever his name is? Yeah. TV is a killer. My mama, the prophetess, said years ago that TV was right from the devil. And time has done nothing but prove her correct. So we can understand time is just not as simple as ticks off the clock. It's only time if you give them attention. Give them attention. And that requires a sacrifice. Right? It requires me to actually listen and be concerned about what's went on in Brenda's day. And not just wait to tell her what's happened in my day, but try to be concerned about what's happened in her day. If you've been here on the last 2 Wednesday nights, we have talked about this. It's the definition of love. When the Bible tells us, love your wives as Christ loved the church, men, that love is agape love. That love is the type of love that serves others without expecting anything in return. It has nothing to do with affection. It has nothing to do with feeling. It's a love of service. It's the same love that Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. It's the same love that Jesus said, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. It's agape love. And that's the type of love it takes to give your spouse time and real attention. Time and real attention. Now that's love. Now when you take time and you add attention with it, you know what you get? You get the number one thing that everybody I've ever talked to over the years who is having problems with their marriage says that their wife and them don't do. That's communicate. I have never talked to anyone who when their marriage got to a bad point, they said, you know what? We just don't communicate. We just fail to communicate. When you take time, when you take real time, that's important to you and you give it to your spouse, and giving them real attention, concerned about them. When you take real time and real attention, you've got communication. You put those two things together. You've got communication. You've got the real deal. And so that's how important that is. Time and attention. Well, what would the G be? Well, obviously it'd be God. Well, God's most important. Why wasn't God first? Well, because God, attention, and time spells GAT. And then you don't know what that means. All right? But time, attention, and God spells tag. That you can go home and remember. Brenda, I need some more tag time. God, the most important piece of the puzzle. The most important piece. God is, as Christians, God is intertwined in everything we do. All that time with our spouse, that attention we give our spouse, it's all because and in the name of Christ and the love that He had for us and the love that He told us to show our loved one, our spouse. And so God is so important. It's so important that you pray together with your spouse. Do you and her or you and he ever pray together? Pray together. So powerful. Make sure God is there. And He's real. And He's active. And you're living out His example in front of each other. Can you have the appearance of time? Can you have the appearance of attention? Can you have the appearance of God in your life because you and Sweet Pea, drag each other to church every Sunday? Can you have all that and still not get it? Yeah, absolutely. Happens all the time. That's the Christian disconnect for you. That's where things look good, look one way on the outside, but we cannot see the real deal. And the real deal is the time is not there. The attention is not there. And God is only there superficially. He's only there as an attendance to a building once a week. So yes, that's the problem. We can have the appearance of these things, but not have the real deal. So this stuff takes sacrifice. Time takes sacrifice. Attention takes sacrifice on our end. God is your duty to serve. And guys, this is our responsibility to lead our families. This is where we've fallen. I'm so thankful that God has given women the strength He has given them to carry on in positions where the man should have been there and should be there. If it wasn't for godly women like my grandmother, where would I even be standing here today? I don't know. But everybody has a story like that, and it goes back to godly women at some point, all throughout the Bible. But yet, God says, men, you lead. You lead your family spiritually. This is what I picture. This is what I picture. When God says that you leave mother and father and the two join together and they become one, I think about it like a piece of rope where you're wound around one another and you become one unit, a rope that can pull or tie or whatever that you would need to do with it. It becomes one, and you can't really tell where one starts and the other finishes and one overlaps. And this is a picture I think about with the husband and wife as they're described. The two are no longer two, but they become one. Some of you already know that a braided rope doesn't have two strands, does it? Some of you already know that a braided rope has 3 strands, not 2. It looks like 2. You can't even see this third one. What is that third strand? It's not your children. What is that third strand? It's God. It's God. That's what makes it strong. That's what makes it strong. And again, it's not just the appearance. And again, that's why divorce outside the church and inside the church is almost identical as far as the percentage that happens, because we can have the appearance that everything's okay when it's not okay. But we're just too prideful to let our guard down, to let others in and say, you know what, me and Brenda's really struggling. Will you pray for us? And if you ever do that, you wouldn't imagine the outpouring of love that would be poured into that couple and that family. How do I know? I've been there. But that's the 3 strands. Even though a piece of rope looks like 2 wound around, you do not have a rope until you put that 3rd strand in and braid it. I guess that goes for hair too, don't it? That's what it takes, 3. The 3rd one is God. Guys, I want our theme song this month, to be Sanctus Real. lead me. St. Disraeli wrote this song about men and men's responsibility to lead and what he was not doing right. And when we listen to this song again, I want you to read the lyrics or listen to the words and think about how similar that is to what we see day in and day out. Lives look good on the outside, but he said what inside was a mess. He said you couldn't see the whole picture. And he cries out, "Lead me." And I want that to be our theme song. Download that from iTunes. Buy that on CD, whatever you need to do. We will, Lord willing, we will listen to this the month of March.